Does it matter that you trust politicians? Do you care what they do in their private lives? Let me know in the comments below. Let's get into the news.
This morning, Republican Congressman Madison Cawthorn.
Well, firstly, he's gorgeous. And like normal politician, does he? Like his swimwear model.
Under fire from members in his own party after presumably linking GOP lawmakers to sex parties and cocaine.
If he is telling the truth about that, that's sort of amazing, isn't it? That they're having sex parties. I mean, some of you that are more into the esoteric side of what goes on in politics have some pretty outlandish ideas about things that happen behind closed doors and won't be surprised to hear this. If he is lying, that's even more bad. Yeah, I've got a lot of sex parties. I've always been invited to them. So, North Carolina Republican Congressman Madison Cawthorn has issued a statement following his controversial comments in which he claimed that he's been invited to an orgy. Come on here. I was invited to an orgy the other day. Many people are pretty attracted to me. No. And they've seen anti-drug advocates do cocaine. I suppose what's behind an accusation like that is the idea of hypocrisy. Now, obviously, we don't know if there are sex and drug parties all over Washington, but probably there are. There seem to be everywhere in the world. That sort of stuff seems to go on. What's more interesting, to me at least, is the idea that lawmakers and people that take a moral stance on that kind of behaviour actually engage in that behaviour. And what's even more interesting is that there are things that are explicitly and overtly understood and known by us, but in my opinion, are much worse than what people do with their own bodies for pleasure. An interesting comparison from our country, the UK, where I live, is that all the while during lockdown, while people were confined to their homes under pain of death and fear of shame, the Conservative Party that run our country, the equivalent, I suppose, of your Republican Party, they were having parties almost literally every day. The only thing that mitigates it is their parties were really shit. It involved cheese and tinsel and wearing Santa Claus hats. Let's go, we're having a party. So, yeah, maybe they are doing that in Washington. Just hope the parties are a bit cooler. Then all of a sudden you get invited to, like, oh, hey, we're going to have kind of a sexual get-together at one of our homes. You should come. What did you just ask me to come to? We are having this at one of our homes, RSVP, and here's what you like, Zeke. And then you realize they're asking you to come to an orgy. Or the fact that, there's some of the people that are leading on the movement to try and remove, addiction in our country. And then you watch them do, keep up with cocaine right now. He's too young to be in politics anyway. How old is he? That's what I'm worried about. No wonder they can't resist him. He's gorgeous.
Cawthorn is the youngest member of Congress, seen as a rising star in the party. Loyal Trump supporter who spoke at that rally on January 6th.
My friends, I will tell you right now that there's a new Republican Party rising, and it's very sexy.
But now Republicans say...
It's an interesting side, though, because that microphone coming out of his head makes him look like a little ant.
But now Republicans say he has crossed the line.
I think you crossed the line.
House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy summoned Cawthorn to his office to tell him his comments were unacceptable.
Those comments were unacceptable. God, would you like a quick... Oh, I can't help myself. How can I stay mad at you?
He's lost my trust. He's left him in the back. He's got a lot of members very upset. You think so too? If you accuse people of having orgies and cocaine parties, it is irritating. But again, all of us are drawn to these kind of salacious sex and drug stories. But really, what we should be interested in is the behaviour of the powerful and the way that Congress and its inhabitants continually operate, and the financial impropriety that defines that institution.
McCarthy telling reporters Cawthorn had no evidence and did not tell the truth.
He's got no evidence. And anyway, aside from that, he did not tell the truth. And mainly, though, he hasn't got any evidence.
Sources say Cawthorn was asked to publicly apologize. Overnight, he claimed his comments were taken out of context.
When I said that there are orgies and sex parties, I meant all over the world. And in films I've seen, like Oliver Stone's film, The Doors, and Wolf of Wall Street.
Congressman Nels, what did you make of those comments?
Well, the cliche that politicians are cigar-smoking fat cats sickens me. I'm holding this for a friend. Madison! Oh, how can I stay mad at you?
Irresponsible. Irresponsible.
Irresponsible. That's ruining all the sex parties. So his accusation that we're in cahoots with the tobacco lobby pisses me off too. Right, guys?
But all of it has left his Republican colleagues on Capitol Hill frustrated.
I just think it puts us a bad light. Yeah, it does. That's not very nice. Don't say that about our sex parties. We're trying our hardest to keep them secret.
What he's saying can't possibly be true.
Not for you, mate. They're inviting you.
What he's saying can't possibly be true. If they're a sex party, I'd support that. They think what a business piece of ass. They think they want to miss this.
Cawthorn still has one big name in his corner, Donald Trump. The former president announced Cawthorn will be a special guest at his rally in North Carolina.
Now, look, that's all a frivolous piece of fun, and we all enjoyed having a laugh about that. But these are some things that are literally, definitely, and actually, I believe, legally happening in Congress right now. So this is not an accusation of impropriety. This is a list of systemic problems. Check it out. Hundreds of millions of dollars were exchanged on the stock market by elected officials in 2021 alone. Nothing else was going on in 2021, though. It's not like the whole world was banged up in their houses, quivering shipwrecks, terrified to move. In just equities, Congress bought and sold nearly $290 million throughout the year. Do you want that happening? Do you want elected officials trading? Do you not think that that might mean that regulation and legislation gets biased in the favor of those kind of interests? In 2021, only 3 hedge funds beat the market. But in Congress, 35 politicians did even better. Hedge funds that are set up entirely for investment cannot perform at the rate of Congress people. That, in my opinion, seems like evidence of some kind of corruption, collaboration, and I don't use insider trading, that's an actual legal term. But it seems like they know stuff that the best hedge funds in the world don't know. Big legislative events, such as the infrastructure bill getting passed by the Senate, were often preceded by politicians in the sectors affected, which points to insider knowledge, doesn't it? Some politicians held securities in the sectors they vocally expressed support for, such as senators holding cryptocurrencies while drafting crypto regulations.
I, for example, would like to see cigar companies promoted to the forefront. Madam, how can I stay mad at you?
As the pandemic raged, at least 75 lawmakers bought and sold stock in companies that make COVID-19 vaccines, treatments, and tests. At a historic time, during an unprecedented crisis that brought about much division, debate, censorship, discombobulation, doubt, and debate, politicians were investing in companies' COVID-19 vaccines, treatments, and tests. Do you want that? I'd rather they had orgies. That's how it works, as long as everyone's consenting. Crack on, enjoy yourselves, go crazy. But I don't want them mandating certain procedures and then profiting from it. Do you? 18 senators or their households own stock in big tech companies valued at a minimum of $9.9 million and a maximum of $24.6 million, which is a problem if you're regulating those companies. 51 members of Congress and their spouses own up to $5.8 million worth of defense contractor stocks, which is a problem if you're advocating for military action. Prior to the invasion of Ukraine, members of Congress purchased defense and energy stocks, which makes it look like they're using their position not for what's best for America or Ukraine, as they publicly say, but what's best for them as individuals financially. Many are on committees privy to private information, including defense and energy. So surely you should be allowed to invest in those companies. These are systemic problems that could be changed like that overnight with a stroke of a pen. They're not allowed to invest. They're not allowed to profit from it. Overnight, you would get a more reliable government. I'm not saying that it's wrong to have a stock exchange or whatever. That's a more complicated and sort of deeper conversation. What I'm saying is that people in those positions shouldn't benefit from it because their focus is meant to be benefiting the ordinary people of America or whatever company, easy mistake to make, country they're supposed to be governing. The typical US Congress member is 12 times richer than the typical American household. Wouldn't you rather have juries, assemblies elected from ordinary families, ordinary Americans? Wouldn't that be fairer? Wouldn't that be better? Tell me in the comments below. More than half of those in Congress are millionaires. Nothing wrong with making a few quid, you could argue. You want Congress people by one demographic that have one set of cohesive, collaborative interests. At least 78 members of the House disclose that their spouses own corporate securities. And that's before they get into the dependent child. 37 members of Congress failed to properly report their financial trades. Did you report your financial trade?
Yes, I did.
Did you do it properly?
Yes, I did. To Madison, the pages are all stuck together. Madison, how can I stay mad at you?
So, of course, what we've got there is a fantastic, funny story about salaciousness. Drugs are, of course, illegal. No one would ever endorse drugs. I certainly wouldn't. Orgies, I guess that's a moral, personal decision for people that are involved in that kind of world. But neither of those things, in my opinion, are as important as systemic corruption. And if it's not corruption, that's probably what it really is, unaddressed crime, institutionalized crime, crime that is allowed because it's not illegal by the letter of the law, but by the spirit of the law. Is this how you want your country run? Can you not see a connection between the lives you're living, the suffering you're enduring, the social breakdown that you're witnessing, and having corrupt leaders that are profiting in the ways that we've just described?
He says, is this how you want your country run? As if anybody asked him or any of the American people how they want their country run. Politicians don't ask people how they want things run. They just run it the way they want to. And they organize those orgies, drug-fueled orgies, so that they can get other members in their parties in compromising positions, literally. Hey, look, it's Mary. Hi, Mary. How are you this morning? I was just up a little early and having a cup of coffee, and I thought I would join y'all here on the internets, see if anybody was out in Happy Land. Do you drink coffee, Mary? Do you have a coffee and a cigarette? $8:53, it's kind of pushing on into the evening for you. Let me see, I made a chart. I'll grab it. I was trying to work on some writing the other day. Okay, weed's good, yeah. I wish I had some weed. I'd smoke a bowl with you. But sadly, I don't have any. Let me throw in some background music. That is if you're going to stick for a minute. You like a dark roast? I don't. I typically just go with a medium roast. Dark's a little too strong for me.
Through the Gates of the Silver Key, read by Bronson Pinchot. In a vast room hung with...
Okay, so Mary says she's got a weed vape pen. So weed vapor, pure oil burned on a coil, so hardly any smoke. Then it doesn't stink too much. Wow, that sounds delightful. I wish I had one of those.
Strangely figured arras.
Is that expensive?
Carpeted with Bukhara rugs of impressive age and workmanship. 4 men were sitting around a document-strewn table. On the far corners were odd tripods of wrought iron, now and then replenished by an incredibly aged eagle somber livery. Thin hypnotic fumes of olibanum, while in a deep niche on one side there ticked a curious coffin shape whose dial bore baffling hieroglyphs, and whose 4 hands did not move in consonance with any time system known on this planet. It was a singular and disturbing room, but well fitted to the business then at hand.
Looks like it's going to be a Libra moon, Mary. You said Cancer moon. We're in the Cancer auspices, but it's going to be full in Libra. So we'll be Aries with a full Libra moon this month.
And Dolph Carter, who had all his life sought to escape from the tedium and limitations of waking reality and the beckoning.
I didn't think that coincided with, it seems like this year, I don't know, because I just started tracking recently, but this year, like, so it's Sun in Aries, right? But it seems like the month, the solar cycle has been coinciding with the new moon. like as we move from Aries into Taurus, it's going to be a Taurian new moon. So is that common? It doesn't seem like that usually happens, but it's lining up right now. Yeah, it is halfway to full, 90 degrees from Aries. Yeah, each month I like to draw a tarot card for the energy of the month, and this one happened to be the Four of Pentacles. I drew the Four of Pentacles there. Yeah, it's lining up this time, but not with the full moon. Sometimes it lines up with full moons or quarter moons. I've noticed. Like I track it, but I don't pay a lot of attention to it because I'm just trying to get a general feeling through memory, because I haven't sat down and studied the absolute attributes of every sign and like how they work when the moon's in them or when other planets are in them. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot for a system of correspondence. Astrology is one of the most extensive systems. And I'm just a magician. I like magic, but I've never gotten too deep into to make sure that my magic's astrally aligned when I perform it, which is a part of it, but that seems a little excessive to me. I'll turn that fan off entirely because it's a little bit irritating, but it helps if I smoke. What's been going on with you these days? You're still moving? Moving's kind of a big deal. And especially when, like, it's not just you, it's your family, it's your daughters too, right? Yeah, I always ask. I always try to get a feel for people and like just try to learn it naturally and be like, oh, okay, I'm dealing with a Gemini. But it's become that I've developed some prejudice too. Like when I find out people are a certain sign, I might tend to avoid them more or be more cautious around them, especially Geminis. I don't know, for some reason, I've had nothing but bad luck with Geminis my whole life. So I try to stay the fuck away from them. And I can't think right offhand if any other sign I've really had problems with. Maybe that's something unique to my own astrological alignments. I have a son, he's 2, he's buying a house with us too. So when we die, him and his daughters can have something. Yeah, don't talk about death. That's inauspicious. I mean, you can prepare for it, but when you transcend, when you pass on, my son told me never say die. And he's young and he didn't even know that, but that's a deep part of the Chinese culture. They're like, yeah, never fuck that word. They're very superstitious of it. I mean, I know we're all going to pass away one day, but it's not, yeah, don't say die. Look, my son and the man of the house are both Gemini, and yeah, Pisces and Geminis don't get on too well, but yeah, I don't know why that is. I've had really a hard time with Geminis. I guess if you live with one, you could get used to it.
Vistas of dreams and fabled avenues of other dimensions disappeared from the sight of man on the 7th of October, 1928, at the age of 54. His career had been a strange and lonely one, and there were those who inferred from his curious novels many episodes more bizarre than any in his recorded history.
We're listening to Through the Gates of the Silver Key. That's a good one if you want to get to understand the astral realm. And I've got some writing here I'll share with you if you're interested, if you're not in a big hurry to get the hell on out of here. The 90 degrees apart is what is happening right now. And what happens with Pisces and Gemini, the square is called. Okay, so there's a square with Pisces and Gemini. Let me check. So if I'm a Pisces Then Gemini is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, that's not right. It's 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's 1, 1, 2, 3. 3 signs. So it's on the quad, right? So if every fourth sign. 90 degrees apart is what happened here. When moon is 90 degrees after sun, it's halfway to Fool, and all signs that are 90 degrees away from each other have conflict. Okay, so I would be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have conflict with all Aries signs. Is that right or no? 1, 2, 3. Sagittarius. 1, 2, 3. Virgo. 1, 2, 3. And Gemini. Okay, so Virgo opposes me. Yeah. And Sagittarius will square you. 1, 2, 3. So I'll have conflict with all of those that are 90 degrees away from me. 1, 2, 3. Sagittarius. 1, 2, 3. Virgo. 1, 2, 3. And Gemini. Is that correct? Yeah, that's interesting because I had a Sagittarius in my life for a long time. We didn't get along great. If we even went to blows a couple of times. And Virgos, I've never really understood. And so so you'll have conflict with one fire sign, one earth sign, and one air sign. Is that correct? So you'll basically conflict with the other elements that are in your, since Pisces is mutable, Sagittarius is mutable, Virgo is mutable. Is that correct? And then is also mutable. Yeah, it does. It works every time. And that's why after, I'm pushing 50. So after 50 years of encountering these different personality types in the world, and it goes beyond that. I mean, it's not just their personality. It helps to channel and form the entirety of their expression in the material plane. And that's why I know that you're a firm believer that people can't overcome that. But I think that to some extent, at least the magicians can overcome it. And not saying that a magician won't have problems with himself and with others due to astrological influences, but he'll be able to rise above them and look at it objectively. He or she, a magi or a high priest or a sorcerer or sorceress or a witch. Yeah, I know you're not I know you're not very dogmatic, but you do need a little dogma in your life. I've recently encountered where I too am very mutable, as being a Pisces, and my sign, my structure is very open and mutable towards new ideas, but you can't be entirely ungrounded. So I've been writing a few things on dreaming and scrying in the spirit vision, and I thought I would share them here. They're not completely ready yet, but if you want to hear, let me check my astrological settings real quick though. What's going on with that?
His association with Harley Warren, the South Carolina mystic whose studies in the primal Nyaako language of the Himalayan priests had led to such outrageous conclusions, had been close. Indeed, it was he who, one mist-mad, terrible night in an ancient graveyard, had seen Warren descend into a dank and nitrous vault, never to emerge. Carter lived in Boston, But it was from the wild, haunted hills behind hoary and witch-accursed Arkham that all his forebears had come, and it was amid these ancient, cryptically brooding hills that he had ultimately vanished. His old servant Parks, who died early in 1930, had spoken of the strangely aromatic and hideously carven box he had found in the attic, and of the undecipherable parchments and queerly figured silver key which that box had contained, matters of which Carter had also written to others. Carter, he said, had told him that this key had...
So Mary says people with all mutable are total pushovers, and they'll ask other people what to do with lives daily because they can't decide making any fucking decisions. Yeah, I've encountered a few people like that in my life. I'm not that way though. I mutable sign, and I think that like on an ideational level, I had thought that that would make me too much of a pushover. But you say that I have lots of cardinal too, and so do I, and fixed. So there's mutable, cardinal, and fixed. That's correct. The mutables are the transition of the seasons. The fixed are the direct center of that element, and then the cardinal is what? Those must be the leading energy of that element. Like I said, I don't have a great understanding of it. Mutable is the last sign. Okay, here we go. Little explanation. And thank you for that, Mary. Mutable is the last sign of each season, and so disseminates into nothing for the cusp of a new cardinal boss sign. So it's weak. All mutables are weaker. Yeah, I can feel that. I've met plenty of people with all mutables, and I can prove this all. If someone would just fund me to travel around and interview them all, I will try to find an investor. Yeah, that sounds like a good research endeavor. And you don't have to prove it to me. I know that it's a reality. I know that it has a great influence on the way things go down. Wow, they're doing construction on a Sunday morning at 8. Really never has ended, man. The whole time I've been here, there's always been somebody working on their apartment, doing some kind of construction. Hey, look out there in Happy Land. Welcome to the chat, Chris. Good to see you, man. I forget exactly where Chris is. I'm thinking British Columbia. That's where I remember you being. You might be Australia, though, and forgive me for not remembering accurately. I believe Mary is in somewhere in Canada. I tend to forget where people are, but I do like to remember. I hear some activity. Somebody's up and moving around. They must have heard my voice and thought that it was time to get up and party. That happens from time to time. I wonder if I can hook up my earbud so that the sound quality is better. Oh, yeah, I remember now. You're in the UK. I remember that, Chris. Forgive me, brother.
We were just talking about it the other day. Can you guys hear me all right out in Happy Land still? Give me a yo if you can still hear me. All right. Can anybody hear me out in Happy Land? Good morning. No. You need anything? Yeah, I thought it. Can you still hear me? Yo. Come on. My sound got a bit quiet. Huh. Let me see. A bit muffled. You're a bit muffled. Let me check to make sure. Now it's gobbledygook, huh? Turn that off. Did that work? Let me check it. Hello, can you hear me all right? Hello, hello, hello. I don't know if this thing works. If it doesn't work, I'll switch back. Sound Cynic Moonlight audio. What about now? Let me know if you can hear me. What about now? Hello, hello, hello. Greetings, salutations, welcome. Oh my God, I can write. What does that mean? Yes, yo, yo. All right. Well, hopefully it's sufficient. It's not my best Bluetooth earbud, but it's the only one that will connect to my computer. So I'm going to go with it. As long as it's not too bad, I'll go with it. But I have to check the situation here. Let me see what's going on. We're starting to get up and cause trouble. You guys know how that goes. You never know what's going to happen. Yeah, I can hear you. I'll just squint at the screen. Huh. It's better now, but still kind of muffly. But I can hear. All right, I can go without it. Let me try this.
Unmute mic. How about now? This is the onboard computer mic, which seems to work okay as long as I'm sitting over here. But not that great. Sound quality is always a problem when you're working on a shoestring budget with like me, and I'm sure that most of you can sympathize with that. Yeah, Chris, good to see you, man. Welcome to the chat, guys. Sunday Shop Talk with Frank. That's the name of the show. Now you're silent. Okay. Should be good now. I think my mic should be back. Is my mic back? I know there's a 10-second delay on YouTube. What? No, I hear him perfect now. Okay, yeah, I thought so. It takes a second. There's a 10-second delay. Yeah, it always is a little challenging. They don't allocate much. Let me refresh. Okay, yeah, they don't allocate much bandwidth to guys like me. Let's get into some shoes, man. I got some issues here for you guys if you're interested. And anyway, we'll have it record for the YouTube. Not sure that I want it as a record. Sometimes I go back in and delete the old live streams, especially when they go south, like the other one did the other day. Yeah, no problem. I did a live stream the other day where I ended up drinking a little too much, and I felt like I had to throw that one in the rubbish bin because it went a little bit south. So I've got some original writing I was going to share with you here that I wrote the other day when contemplating mystery school teachings. And so just a couple of pages, I wrote, the mystery school teaching contains special knowledge about the spirit world in reference to human activity. There are certain practices within the human sphere that can evoke a powerful response from the subtle realm. Some of these can be harmful to one's fortune or karma, and others can be a great benefit and even be the catalyst of future events. High-level incantations and invocations can cause the outward manifestation of wondrous phenomena, while divination, geomancy, evocation, psionics, and related practices can cultivate the inner kingdom and even lead to the direct discovery of the philosopher's stone or elixir of immortality. One rudimentary practice that is easily accessible is writing. Hey. All right, can you hear me all right? Welcome back. Had a little, okay, IRC is up there with AOL. Yeah, it's funny, I don't even really know what IRC means. It seems like it stood for Internet Relay Chat. Is that right? Oh, I can't type now. Seems like that's what it meant. Internet Relay Chat. I remember there was like a program called ICQ. Is that what it was? ICQ. It was like the first Chinese platform for doing IRCs. And that was a good thing, man, back in the day, like mid 90s. I was on that platform, and then it turned into QQ, and now it is called WeChat. So it's basically the same company. And it's actually less advanced now than it was all those years ago. It was more advanced back in the day when you were running it on like the first Windows 95. I think that's when when ICQ saw its day, and AOL. Yeah, the ICQ was a 10-cent QQ, its first iteration of Internet Relay Chat. And it was a dandy system. Like, you could send files over it really easily and connect with people and stuff. And that was like their first attempt at controlling the internet out of China. It's where I learned about some softwares that were the first systems of language translation software. Dragon Writer was one of the first ones, and it would do. This was like mid 90s. It would do voice to text, and then you could translate it into another language. It only worked between Chinese and English at the time, and I think you could do Russian, Chinese and Russian. Later, they started adding all of the languages, but those were their first runs at internet espionage, and they were good at it, man. I knew China was going places when they were the first ones pioneering those systems. Yeah, I've been online since before. I had my first dial-up modem back in the late 80s. So I was well into, like, what was that, 256K dial-up modems in the early 90s, because I was my last year of high school was 91, 92. I graduated in 92. So we already had a home computer and running the first few iterations of Windows. I mean, we even had a computer as early as the mid 80s and late 80s. No, yeah, I was one of the first people on it, though. My uncle was actually on a team that worked with DARPA, and he worked at Raytheon, and they built the Patriot missile. That was like his team. That was the thing they did. But yeah, he encouraged my dad to get me and my brother into computer science, and my dad was like, nah, fucking, I don't want my kids being nerds and sitting in front of computers all the time. But they got us the tools, so we started learning like HTML on DOS systems. And so in my last couple of years of high school, I was already getting into trying to write programs and stuff. We had it all: Commodore 64, Atari. We went through every electronic iteration of everything. We had Pong. I mean, we had the first things, VHS cameras, VHS players, televisions, and stuff like that. We were lower middle class, but we weren't poor, so we were able to get all that type of stuff. What's ephemeris? I don't know. Did I say ephemeris? I don't even remember. Astro Dentist was already on the internet. I found them early on. I built my own first web page when I was like in the 11th grade. It was before MySpace even. I just got in there and altered, like looked at code and then copied and pasted code to create frames and stuff. And yeah, I was figuring all that shit out. I could have been a Facebook type character. GeoCities, that was the place. Yeah, GeoCities, I remember that. Yeah, I was on GeoCities. You could probably still find me. I was wearing a hat just like this back when I was 16, 17. Yeah, now we're all computer nerds. I know, right? We all sit in front of our computers 24/7. My first computer was a Commodore 64. But it doesn't seem like Commodore 64s could do very well with a modem. But we had modem powered computers, and like I remember as early as 86, because we were using the 3.5 floppies, and I had one other buddy in my neighborhood that also had a computer that you could dial up, and we'd let our computers call each other and just do rudimentary shit, you know. I mean, you just had to directly call, and the person had to know that you were calling, and then they had to hook it up together. But yeah, I was doing that when I was like 11, 12 years old. But I didn't like spending that much time in front of the computer. I noticed that the guys who spent a lot of time on their computers were turning into like freaks of nature. And I'm like, fuck all this. I'm going to get out on my BMX, you know, and ride my skateboard around a lot and go try to rustle up a joint, you know. Yeah, I played Doom back in the day. Yeah, I didn't want to be indoors too much because growing up in Southern California, it's beautiful all the time. So it's like, you know, you go surfing, you go into the mountains, you know, go out into the desert and eat some peyote and do all the brain change stuff that everyone's enjoying. You know, have a cake party down by the pool. You didn't want to spend too much time indoors because it was a waste of time. But guys like Zuckerberg, they enjoyed it. Yeah, it's summer every day in Cali. It really is. Sounds scary, hot for a redhead, plus probably poisonous snakes and spiders and shit. Yeah, you don't run across them too much though. I not so much. I don't think there were any spiders really. Snakes definitely, and lizards. Yeah, that's right. You're on the jolly old England. It's rainy most of the time, right? And then Mary is up in. You're in British Columbia, right, Mary? If I get that wrong, I'm gonna shoot myself in the foot. Yeah, I was telling you one time about Chris. I was telling you about one of my first British friends. I remember. I think I talked about that story with you. Paul Shipley. He was a great guy. He was like probably 6 or 7 years older than me, so he liked to party. And he drove. So when you're 13, 14, you know, driving's a big deal. That'll get you out to the mountains. That'll get you spelunking. He'd take us spelunking down in caverns. He was the leader of our crew for a while, a British guy. I prefer bears and nice Canadian shit. I'm from BC, but live on the East Coast. That's right. Now in New Scotland. Wow, there's a place called New Scotland on East Coast. What is the territory on the East Coast then? I don't know. I guess I could look at my map, but it better just to ask you, what is that province there that you're in? Yeah, I had a British friend growing up in Southern California that would take us into cavern. He loved to do everything. He loved to do cliff diving and rappelling and even base jumping. This guy was a fucking full-on extreme sports just bonanza. He loved to go camping for like 4 or 5 days at a time. And he was like 18, 19, 20, something like that. And so he, you know, he had a driver's license and he'd buy all the beer, you know, and even though I don't think he was even old enough to buy the beer, but he would get it. And he would always get all the other goodies too. And so we would follow him anywhere, mountain bike riding in the mountains. Nova Scotia, that's what it is. Oh, and that translates to New Scotland, huh? Interesting. right by the ocean, but also woods and lakes. It's beautiful. Yeah, that sounds beautiful. And seems like you had some stuff on your old channel that was pretty good. Yeah, Paul Shipley was a good guy. I'm suspicious that he didn't make it this far into life though, because he didn't have any kind of fucking fear, man. That guy didn't know fear. He knew passion and adrenaline, but he didn't know fear. And you got to have a little fear in your life, man. You got to realize that some of the shit you're doing could get you killed quick. But no, that motherfucker, he didn't know anything about fear. Fun times. I had a really good childhood, man. I ran across quite a few dynamic individuals that were living life and weren't going to let anything stop them. And I followed along. I was a tag along type, always tagging along with older kids. Because the kids my age, you know, they weren't doing shit, you know. All the other 12-year-olds, they weren't out, you know, drinking beer and climbing mountains and spelunking and stealing cars and, you know, raping whores and doing all the good things that men did. So I was like, fuck all y'all 6th graders. I'm gonna go hang out with the 18-year-olds. They know what's going on. That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Definitely. It is. But we, like I said, I run across so many guys that wanted the only thing they ever wanted to do was get out of the city, you know, get into the desert, get into the mountains, get into the woods. And I realized that that's where it's at, you know, that's where reality takes place. The cities, they're just full of shit and hardship, but the cities is where you can make your money. I mean, unless you're a farmer. But then if you're a farmer, you're not really doing it. You're not getting it. You're not appreciating all of that beauty around you every day. Yeah. So there's a good balance. One of my kung fu master guys that I apprenticed myself to in youth, Master Ni Hua Ching. I like to mention him because he was a good guy. So Ni Hua Ching. I ended up living with the guy for 2 years almost and being his apprentice, but he was a grand master of Tao in Southern California. He had his own university. He was chancellor of Yosani University, his own book publishing, 7-Star Communications, his own clinic, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, so he was a big deal. But he told me the ideal experience for the human being is to spend a little bit less than half of their time in the city and the other half in the country. He said, if you could spend 4 or 5 months doing city life, doing urban life, and then the other 6 or 7 months every year in the country, he said that's ideal for the human nervous system because you'll have enough of the good city interaction of socializing and getting access to things you might want to purchase like books and other sundries and herbs and stuff like that. But then you spend the majority of your time just enjoying nature in a rural setting. He said that balances the nervous system best. And I believe him. I think Master Ni figured it out. He lived well over 100 because he was like in his 90s when I apprenticed to him. And that's back when I was 20. And from what I heard, he was still alive up until recently. So that means he lived well over 100. Yeah, the Chinese medicine, they grow most of their herbs in the US now, North America. And yeah, that's right. They have entire industries around it, but they use local herbs too. I mean, if it's an herb that is already native to North America that fits into Chinese medicine that they can source, they'll use it as well. It's an evolving science. Chinese medicine is quite old though. Like it's got a history of 5,000 years. So they've been documenting herbal remedies and stuff for well over 2,000 years. And the ideas of acupuncture and stuff date well back to the Shang dynasty. So it's 5,000 years of medical research in that field. Yeah, that's right. When it comes to business, they'll grow whatever you want. Yeah, Master D, I think he was like 80 something when I worked with him, and then like I remember I was still connected with the Universal Society of the Integral Way. I don't even know if that's still a thing anymore. Universal Society of the Integral Way. I was a mentor in this club. Let me see if it's even still a thing. I'll copy it and see if we can do this. See if this will work. Whoops, that didn't work. All right, ad stream. There it goes. I got too many windows open. Search Baron's a real piece of shit. I wish you guys, maybe you guys know how to teach me how to remove Search Baron from. Search Baron's a malware, and it's for some reason has infiltrated my computer. I've been trying to get rid of it, but I can't figure out how to do it, man. Look, it's still a thing. Interesting. Shrine of the Eternal Breath of Tao. Master Ni watching. There he is. There he is, man. This is the guy I was associated with. College of Tao. I don't think the Integral Way is still a thing, though. Let me check. Is this still open? Yeah. Can you guys see that? Yeah, this looks like it's total horse shit now. Universal Society of the Integral Way. Live your life with balance. It just looks like it's some sort of corporate advertisement now. I think it's defunct. If you don't have like really motivated people participating in a cult, you know, then it just kind of dies out. Full contact sports. Yeah, this looks like it's totally defunct now. All this Hollywood bullshit imagery. Nobody wants to see this. Let's see who's in there. Yeah, it's defunct. Let's try one of the other things. See how that Search Baron has taken over my computer, man? College of Tao. Okay, so they still have the collegeoftao.org. Look at that. Doesn't even work. Boop. Come on, man. Stop. Okay. Maybe that'll work. Let me check the chat real quick. Let's see what we got here. How Chinese medicine doing in the face of big pharma? Yeah, probably not real good. Yes, you know, it's thousands of years, they say, European naturopathy, but Rockefeller crushed and tried to erase all of them. The Native Americans, haha, all of them learn Eastern medicine and naturopathy schools instead of their own cultures. Yeah, it's kind of silly, huh? So it's almost dead here, but naturopathy with Chinese medicine is big in the States and Canada. It's not just covered, so you need to pay. Yeah, see, that's the thing with it in California too. Like your insurance won't cover Chinese medicine, so you have to pay for it. So it's big in communities who got more money. That's right. You know, probably because it works and big pharma just wants to make you ill. Yeah, that's right. Basically, we should all be foraging in summer, walking around in nature and eating some bits from the forest for free as we can and save millions in health. Yeah, that's right. I agree with that. Look, it never sent my little thing. I tried to put this message in there a moment ago about the Universal Society of the Integral Way, and it didn't work. but now it's working. So let's check it out. Let's see if I'll introduce you guys to Master Ni. Yeah, this is what he looked like when I worked with him. College of Tao was founded in the U.S. by Hua Qing Ni in the mid-70s to transmit the teaching of the integral way. I worked with Master Ni in the mid to late 90s, and I lived with him for 2 years. I know both of his sons, Mao Xing and Dao Xing, and Master Ni, and I'm not going to talk too much shit about them, but they're good people. I wonder if he's still alive. The northern branch of complete reality, Taoism, became a monastic tradition and is known in the West today as the Dragon Gate sect. There's Dr. Mao Xing and Dr. Dao Xing. So now he's the co-chancellor and ordained minister and master teacher. Okay, so they're sharing their father's business. Co-chancellor of the College of Tao. I wonder if Master Ni's even still around anymore. Grandmaster Yosani, that was the grandfather, I believe. There's Master Ni. That's what he looked like. That's like him in I think he's 70 there. That's in his 70s, in the 70s. And I didn't start working with him until like the mid 90s. So he was already getting pretty old when I worked with him. There's great materials. I mean, if you want to read up on any of their books, it's here at 7 Star Communications. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about that. Now, tell me, how is it that the root canals are so deadly? Because tell me about that. Don't talk to me about teeth. Yeah, I don't want to fucking talk about teeth either. Nobody does. Stay young at heart. That's definitely accurate. Let's talk teeth, because I don't know much about it, man. But as soon as I started getting my wisdom teeth pulled, the rest of my teeth started going to shit. Before that, my teeth were great. But I had a bone doctor once told me, he said, don't pull your teeth. He said, once you start pulling your teeth, you start losing bone mass, and that will lead to degeneration of your body. And I just figure it's part of getting old too. I mean, yeah, I have my 4 wisdoms, and then when I pulled them, man, it was fucking game over. I started falling apart after that. But one of them exploded in my mouth anyway. It turned black and then fell apart. So, I mean, what else are you going to do when it gets that bad? And then, like, I got that one pulled, and then the other one turned black and exploded in my mouth, you know? And so I got it pulled, and it just, all 4 of them did the same fucking thing. They just turned black and exploded. Turns darker and darker, and the bone starts to make pus trying to push it out. Root canals pull out the roots from the inside the drilled tooth, and then they pack it with poison and seal it off, and your tooth is dead, and then your body tries to reject it. Yeah. So what's the answer? You get rid of the tooth entirely? What about getting those screw-in teeth? They say things like, you just need a root canal and then you're done. Ha ha ha. And it's $5,000 to redo one. Yeah, no, my dentist, he didn't tell me it ends with a root canal. He said that a root canal is temporary. They'll do a root canal, and then they do a half crown. And when the half crown breaks, they'll do a full crown. And when the full crown breaks, then they pull the tooth and screw in a new tooth. I got 2 fake teeth on a plate. Yeah, so the procedure is never ending. The screw-in ones will eventually erode your bone. Yeah, so I'm thinking I don't want to do that. It's the price of a house to get the clip-in teeth. It's nuts. Yeah, it is. The plate's the best thing for health. See, that's what I told him. I said, I just want a plate. I just want to get one that, yeah, because I'm going to lose this front tooth. And down here on the left, they already fucking drilled the roots out of these ones. And I'm like, I don't want to get crowns on them. I'm with you, Mary. I mean, I think that seems like the most logical way to go. It's like, why would I want to go through this whole process of, okay, we're gonna dig out the root, then we're gonna put a half crown. When that explodes, we're gonna put a full crown. When that explodes, we're just gonna pull the tooth out and then screw in a tooth. And it's like you're gonna have to pay 5 to 10,000 each step of the way in RMB. Yeah. I think that it's something you go through, man. So I'm thinking that, have a little like a a plate with a tooth, and you pop it in and pop it out. You pop it in when you need it, and then just don't wear it the rest of the time. You can wear it when you go out. It's like 300 to 500 for a plate with 1 or 2 teeth. Yeah, I think that's the way to go. Just fucking, as they rot and die, just pull them out one by one, and then just adjust your plate as time needs. I don't know if I want to get the screw in ones. I feel like the screw in one would be a fucking disaster. And go through that whole process of root canal, half crown, full crown, pull the tooth, screw in tooth. Screw in tooth doesn't work. Unscrew it then and put a fucking dentures in. It's like, good God, why go through all that? Just go straight to it and yank the motherfucker, right? Yeah, it's hard to know the best way to go with it. Because my next tooth that's fucking going out on me is right there. It's a front tooth. So what a crock of shit that is. I smashed my front 2 teeth when I was 12, and they put them back in and gave me root canals at 12. Yeah, what a sad, tormenting situation. Then at 26, I was so sick I could barely get out of bed. Yeah, I believe you. I believe you. Teeth can kill you, man. You really, I wish they've got so many years of experience in dealing with teeth. They know what they're doing, and they know that it's a process, and that they can extend the process or they can shorten it. You know what I mean? I believe it, Mary. Yeah. Yeah, they are fucking wankers, and they're liars too. They're like, oh, well, yeah. Like this one guy, one of the dentists told me, he said, well, one person that got the drill in tooth was dead within a year due to infection. And he said other people who have gotten the drill in teeth, another guy, the very first guy who got a drill in tooth, he's still alive. He's had it 50 years. He said, so it can be different for every person. He said, but yeah, he said the process can kill you essentially. He said, we could get in there and fuck around and put that thing in you, and then you could be dead within the year because it's right on your Ren Zhong channel. Yeah, so it can definitely kill you. And then the other possibility is that nothing goes wrong and it works perfect. So it's a 50-50 gamble. Those screw-in teeth. God, oh my God, he admitted it. It can kill you. Oh yeah, the Chinese doctors over here, they're very honest a lot of times. And the prices dentists charge. Yeah, they won't beat around the bush. They'll be like, oh yeah, there's risk of death from it, because I discussed it with him. I said, it seems like, that could be dangerous. He's like, oh yeah, it can be. He said, but in general, it's not. And yeah. So that's at least one redeeming quality about them. Yeah, when I went in for one surgery and a treatment a couple of years ago, and they said that the fatality rate was about 5%. I'm like, well, I died during this process? And they're like, yeah, there's a chance of it. It's not very high, though. They said with the other process, though, you had a greater risk. It's like a 1 in 10 or, 10%. He said we lose about 10% of the people we work on. He said, but with this one, we lose about 4 to 5%. It's a and I think it's 4 or 5 in every 100,000, something like that. These are interesting programs called Legion. They make an association between teeth and time travel. Same in the film with 12 Monkeys. Huh, that's interesting. I've never heard that. I do know that teeth are magical, though, and there is a magical connection to the spirit world through your teeth. And yeah, teeth are worrisome, man. I'm with you. I'm not gonna. I don't think I'm gonna get the screw in ones. My mom got it done recently though. She had like Chris was talking about. She had all, I think, like 90% of her teeth pulled because they were going so bad, and then got screw ins, like a full set of screw ins. And I've heard about quite a few people doing it. Chris, have you had the full set of screw ins, or you got the dentures? Because my mom just did it recently. Nothing, huh? Well, you're just drinking soup then. Yeah, no, man, you gotta have something to nibble on a fucking carrot with. You're just gonna gum it to death. It's gonna be porridge and soup for you for the rest of your days, friend. Uh, yeah, I believe it. I believe it, man. No, uh, wow, that's a tough pill to swallow, man. Um, I think that I wouldn't want to go with wooden teeth, but I would definitely want some sort of denture set up because I do like having some solid food occasionally. But you shouldn't be swallowing your food solid anyway. You know, that's what the teeth are meant for. Uh, well, I remember my grandpa could chew with his gums pretty good. Yeah, I remember my grandma too, and my grandpa before they passed, and they made it to 87, 89, you know, and they were gumming everything. Sounds painful though. Yeah, nuts sound painful. No, I remember my grandpa, the way he prepared lunch every day. He would chop his salad like with a knife down to like almost a slurry. And then like when he wanted to eat walnuts and shit, he would just sit there and pound them with a hammer until he got them down to like a fine powder. And then he'd throw a little hot water on them and just eat them like soupy. So yeah, he did fine. He just, instead of having teeth, he used a hammer and a knife. And he would just get all his food chopped up nice and neat before he started going at it. And he would actually take his dentures out when he wanted to eat. He just used the dentures for socializing because he didn't want, you know, didn't want to walk around looking like just a chin and a nose, you know, because when he took his dentures out, he looked like a chin and a nose. But yeah, I'll get some, but eventually use the experience to get over ego issues. Yeah, I think it's important to get your ego out of the way early on because growing old ain't no kind of fun. All right. I remember, I think I told you guys about this recently. 100-year-old man that I met lived to 100, lived to 99, almost 100, died like the day before his 100th birthday. He told me, he said, I asked him one time, I said, what kind of advice do you have for a young man? He said, don't fuck around and grow old. You know, stay young at heart. He said, if you grow old, it'll catch up with you. He said, so never do that. Just don't grow old. Yeah, it doesn't change anything. It's an ego thing. Like when this tooth went bad and I started losing it, I thought, oh, good God, how am I gonna keep my job as an educator in the public sphere? You know, how will I ever face my students again with a missing tooth, running around looking like you know, an aging olive oil from Popeye? And I thought, nah, it doesn't fucking matter. Who cares? But no, I don't think I'd be able to keep my job at a school if I ran around toothless. So I'll definitely have to get some kind of tooth. But I thought about that tooth on a plate is the answer. You know, I don't want to get that screw in tooth. That sounds like more trouble than it's worth. All right, guys, I'm gonna tie this one up because I do need to get down to business and make some sausages and stuff. But I wanted to finish off reading this. One rudimentary practice that is easily accessible for the spiritual practitioner is writing. Keeping a journal or a diary can help develop and build the sensitivity to bridge the material and spiritual worlds within the human being. The higher levels of the spiritual do not have the activity of writing, and that way that human beings do, and the way that human beings do. Thus, angels, demons, and spirits of all kinds become quite actively interested when a person sits down to write. They watch us as we write. Okay, so angels, demons, and spirits of all kinds watch us when we write. There are those who are naturally psychic types that draw upon these beings through spiritual sympathy with the subtle environment. There are beings who can bring ideas and information from the very real and unseen realm. These clear transmissions from spiritual beings can guide the hand of the journaler or chronicler and bring forward messages from the subtle realm and provide answers and practices that can illuminate ancient wisdom and secret teachings. And it's funny too, because I've asked all kinds of gurus about the problem of teeth. And I even asked the spirit world about teeth one time. And a group of angels one time gave me a prophetic dream about this front tooth dying and turning black. And I didn't even know there was a problem with the tooth. And then I woke up and I noticed that it was, not great, that it had a little cavity on the side. And I'm like, God, can't I just get the cavity fixed? I have to lose the whole fucking tooth, right? And so I went down to the dentist and he's like, nah, you're going to lose that tooth. And I'm like, why don't you just fix the cavity? And he's like, nah, it's useless. And I didn't understand it. And the angels wouldn't even tell me what was going on. And I'm like, why do you guys not answer simple questions? Like, what do we do about the problem with teeth? And one time I went to the great master Nihua Ching, the guy I was just showing you here a moment ago. And I asked him about teeth and he said, oh, just get dentures. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. And that's helpful for a man that's 80 because he had dentures. And I'm like, but I'm 20 and I'm asking you about wisdom teeth. Oh, just get dentures. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? He's like, you're eventually going to lose them all anyway. Just get dentures. And I was like, fuck, you don't tell a 19-year-old guy that. But yeah, sometimes they don't want to tell you things you want to know about. Now, something must be said about the way in which spiritual information or gnosis appears in the astral realm. The lower astral is dark and indistinct. Things can appear translucent and with ephemeral forms. Scenes can shift and distort as if one has not gathered enough energy to make a connection with a luminous spiritual being for truthful instruction. So when I was writing this, I got interrupted and it turned into one of those, domestic things. And so I didn't get to finish my thoughts, but I have a lot of thoughts in the area of spiritual journaling, which I want to share. And thoughts and messages have been coming to me from the spirit realm. And I have an astral experience that I think is very relevant and valuable to the spiritual community that I want to convey. And it takes the form of a recurring dream that I've had. And I've also had connections with this particular phenomena and event recently through meditation and stuff. And so I'm getting it down. And it only seems to work for me when I handwrite it. The spirits connect with handwriting better than they do with typing on a computer. I've noticed when I start typing on the computer, I lose the connection somehow. But when I do it this way, I'm able to stay connected with the flow from the cosmic. So that's the thing, is it's a slow growing process and it can't be rushed. It's an analog process. It's a bit like automatic writing, but with the connection with my intelligence bridging the gap. And I love to doodle too. And there's definitely a connection through doodling. like a lot of my writing will start off with me always doodling out the first, couple things, sun and moon. And at the top of any of my journaling, it always turns into a fiasco of art. You guys know me. I'm always going bananas. Hey, have you guys watched any Asha Logos? Do you guys know that guy? Definitely check him out. ASHALOGOS, Asha Logos. Here's a good one. Yeah, I realize that, Mary. You mentioned that once before. I remember. Yeah, check out Asha Logos here on YouTube and maybe sub him if you're interested in his stuff. Yeah, he recently got kicked off of Patreon, so he's lost all of his income yet again. I think he's a good guy. I mean, I don't make donations to many folks, but Dark Journalist and a couple of others. And you know me, I don't really try to solicit donations really, because most of the people who are interested in this field aren't wealthy people, and so, but I mean, just subbing and giving a like to the video also helps the person's channel. I'll check him out real quick. I think he's a big hitter though. I don't think he's like me, struggling with only 200 subs. From what I remember, he's got, I don't think he's up in the hundreds of thousands, but maybe he might be. Let me go check him out real quick. I got 269 now, man. Asha Logos. Seems like it's Logos. It might just be Logo. Asha Logos. 64,000 subs. That's nothing to sneeze at. He's got a good canter to his transmission though, and he puts a fair amount of research and yeah, I'm with you, Mary, too. I do watch though. I don't watch so much as listen. I just turn on YouTubers that do long form transmissions so I can listen to it like radio. So I'm more like an old man. I remember my dad, all towards the end of his life, when he was on his sick bed, he just listened to radio 24/7. And I couldn't imagine how he could do it, but he did. He did. So let's find out a little bit about Asha Logos. He says he's got political, philosophical, and historical content, seeking clarity amidst chaos, signal amongst noise. No shortage of views, right? 3 million views nearly. He's been on here since 2018. I'm pretty sure he's had other channels, videos. It says he's got about 40 videos. I don't think he's got any playlists. Maybe. No real playlists. This is a good series he did called Our Subverted History. Oh, wow. No longer available, huh? Blocked in my country due to copyright. Yeah, whatever. That doesn't make any kind of fucking sense. Give me a second here. But yeah, good videos in general. Obstacles along the way, conspiracy, secret history, underground dungeons, that kind of thing. Really a lot of fun. I've enjoyed his content quite a bit. Give me a minute, guys. I'll be right back. Go away from the area.
I gotta sit there.
Why do you have to sit there?
Because it's close to the outside. It's get a better signal. I need to fight for that.
For what? What do you need to show me?
Appointment. I need to make an appointment. So I need to stay near the window first. Just a second.
Do your thing. Sorry, guys. Someone needs to use the kitchen. So I'm vying for Wi-Fi. I got to get my daughter. Yeah, do that. That sounds like fun. I enjoy that kind of stuff. I got to get busy with that too. Looked like we had a third in here for a moment. Yeah, Chris says you can't find him. Yeah, Asha Logos, I think. I just said his name, Asha Logos. Anyway, he's a good guy. I've listened to quite a bit of his material. And like I say, he puts a lot of research and he does a ton of editing like you do, Chris. Yeah, Mary, while you're out there, make sure you sub Chris A's. I don't know what his, I think that's just the way his, Chris, I think that's just the name of your channel too, right? I've never heard of No White Guilt channel. That sounds like my kind of jive, though. I ain't got no fucking guilt for nothing. Yeah, do your thing, man. Not to worry. Okay, yeah, you got him. Good deal. Yeah, I think it's valuable. Get over here and have a look. A call for parallel institutions, the secret history, conspiracy. And he doesn't frame anything like, I'm telling you that this is the way it is. He frames it as, could this possibly give us more clarity on what's going on? Like he launched a project called the Phoenix Project. I haven't participated in it, but it seems worthwhile. Potential YouTube solution for video cataloging. He's got some fairly good ideas. I mean, and they're worth listening to. I don't know if anybody's going to take any action on them. Oh, this was a good video. Reject the black pill, right? When you get into someone for a little while, you'll have a tendency to listen to everything they've made in the past, which is not hard to do because he's just got like 30 videos on here. Like if you suddenly got interested in my channel, there's a backlog of like 1,000 videos now. So that would take some time to go through. Good to see you again, Chris. Man, I haven't been on. Yeah, I haven't been on we were DMing over Instagram for a while there, but then I forgot all about Instagram. I didn't forget about you, but I forgot about opening it for like 2 weeks. I seldom check it or open it. I'm like that with all of these apps. Like I've got Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and one other one, WhatsApp on my phone, but I just never open them. It seems like YouTube's the only thing I really open. And the only reason I open it is usually either to live stream or listen to something like radio style on the headphones. So yeah, but I do try to check the comments here and respond to them. And the other thing I started checking again since I started doing this are my emails. I do actually check my emails and try to respond to those now, whereas I had never done that. In 20 years, I haven't used email. I got you. I figured that. And the way we were operating at this point in our lives, nothing's time sensitive per se, right? Like the job is time sensitive, but everything else I've got going on is just spirit sensitive. You know, yeah, I'm shit with email too, man. Always have been. I had some guys down at the embassy one time. They said, "Oh yeah, send me an email," and I was like, "What the fuck is email? How archaic of a system is that? That's still a thing? You guys still use email?" And he's like, "Yeah, you got to use your email." And I'm like, "No, I don't." And he's like, "No, you do. If you want to get into the embassy, you have to have an open, active email and use it." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, maybe I don't really need to go there that bad after all. Like yesterday, we were out at the shopping mall and we try to fake our health pass. Like we'll just take a picture of the health pass and then never log it anywhere. Like just use the green health pass and show it. And it's always just a fake one, you know. Because we don't want to get involved in that health pass system here in China. So we just, you know, try to ride under the radar. So we got into the shopping mall yesterday with the fake health pass. And then one of the restaurants we went to, like a dessert restaurant, sat down to have some yogurt. And they're like, oh, you know, you can't sit here and get the yogurt unless you show your health pass and you have to register it and scan the code. And he was like really anal retentive about it. And I'm like, fuck that. And I'm like, let's just get up and walk out of here. And I showed some aggression and anger towards him because, you know, my son's there, my wife and daughter, you know, and I didn't want to be bullied by him. So we went like right across to another yogurt place and just sat there and ate their yogurt and didn't have the same dickhead manager that wanted to push his fucking politics on us. And I thought, yeah, my dad's like, or no, my son, my dad, it might be my dad, right? But my son told me, he's like, Dad, this is China. He's like, you know, you have to learn to conform, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, son, I don't. I said, tyranny should never be acquiesced anywhere in the world. I said, this may be China, but I'm an American. And I have the heart of an American and the spirit of freedom. And I said, you have to push back all the time, everywhere you go. Everywhere they try to push you to do something you don't want to do, you have to push back against it, even if it's just a little resistance. You know, you might not be able to entirely get away with everything, but you always have to provide some civil disobedience. And if everybody does that, then everybody will start backing each other up a little bit and being like, yeah, you know, fuck that, just let them through or whatever. Or yeah, fuck that, let's just break down the gate, you know, because civil disobedience has to start somewhere. And it's maintaining the balance. That's right. You have to stand up for your rights. And you can live in a society even that's under total tyranny and still get away with being free to the best of your ability and providing that resistance anywhere you can, anytime you can, because that's one thing they can never take away from you, is at least the spirit of freedom within your heart, you know. And you may not be entirely free, and you never are anywhere you go, but you need to put up a little bit of positive resistance to that kind of horse shit. I remember day one when they started implementing it here, and they're like, you can't even go in the grocery store without it. And so I would go in and out of the grocery store anyway and just act like I was showing it, you know. And a lot of times the guard just lets you slide by. He doesn't give a fuck because he doesn't want to enforce the system either. I mean, they get worn out. But I was with my son one time and the dude jumped in front of me to try to block me. And he's like, show me your health pass. And I was like, don't have one. And he's like, well, then you can't come in here. And I said, is that right? Boom. And I fucking pushed him. And then I grabbed my son and I'm like, let's just bail, you know, fuck it. Who cares? We'll go to another store where there's not some dickhead manager trying to block the way. But my son always gets excited and he's like, Dad, you know, you can't do shit like that. This is China. And I'm like, no, you can do it. I said, there may be consequences. You may get punished. I said, but it's the only thing you can do is fight against tyranny. There is nothing. We have nothing else. That's what we are. We're living, breathing human beings, and showing resistance to false authority is our mandate by heaven. It's something we must do, even if it's just a little bit, even if it's just, you know, pushing back just a little bit anytime you can. Someone has to start that positive momentum of resistance, and other people have to build on that. But if nobody does it, then it'll never get done. So even if just teaching my son these lessons as a young man and letting him see his dad do it, even if they one day hang me out to dry because of it, it won't matter, because that motivation has been started. Nice. Wow, that sounds like a fucking party, Monsieur Tiedrick. It does open doors, and eventually people will follow suit. They'll be like, yeah, this fucking foreign devil's right. we do need to put up a little resistance. They're doing it now. I'm not going to talk about the situation too much because it'll definitely get me banned. In fact, the things I've already just said, just here in the last 5 minutes, probably enough to get me fucking cast into the flames forever. But I truly believe in it. And I think, hey, well, fuck it. If it's the last thing I ever say on this platform, then so be it. Let it be the last thing I ever said, that you should swear before the altar of God eternal antagonism towards tyranny over the minds of man. It's funny too, because that search baron bullshit that has infiltrated my computer, I don't think it does it when I use Bing. It just does it when I try to use Google. That was Thomas Jefferson, right? Thomas Jefferson, quote, altar of God. See if I can find it real quick. Fighting words, huh? From Thomas Jefferson. Look at this, everyone. This is going to be permanent record, Jeff. Just messing with you, bro. Third glass of Maker's Mark. That ain't no kind of... That sounds like good fun to me, brother. Here we go. I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man. There's the exact quote. I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man. I knew I had remembered that correctly. Yeah, get the telescope out. Take a look at Mars and Venus. Those are beautiful luminaries in the sky. Wandering stars is what the ancients called them. You guys these days call them planets, though. Planets, which they are not. There's no proof that Mars and Venus are planets, that there's even anything like a solar system. Did you guys see the latest science article that the solar system is in a bubble? Did you guys see that one? Let me see if I can find it real quick. The solar system is in a bubble. As the solar wind flows from the sun, it creates a bubble of space known as the heliosphere. Around our solar system, the heliosphere is the region of space under the influence of our sun, the bubble of our solar system. That means everything is, they're claiming that everything is within the atmosphere of the sun, that we're in a bubble. And it's that bubble which is floating in space. You believe that? You can look it up for yourself. I mean, it's just NASA horse shit, right? They're trying to make up for all the lies they told you about moon travel. Here, I'll share it with you. I don't know if NASA will open in China, though. Let's see. Yeah, it says as the solar wind, it creates a heliosphere. The heliosphere is a region of space under the influence of the sun. The interstellar medium. Yeah. So now it's not called space anymore. It's not interstellar space. It's interstellar medium. Because if you call it space and it's interstellar space, if it's a true vacuum, then there's no distance between stars, right? because you can't create distance out of nothing, right? The matter that fills the local region of our galaxy is forced to flow around the heliosphere. It disturbs the solar wind so much as to create a secondary bubble around the heliosphere known as the heliosheath, which is filled with slower solar wind. What an absolute crock of horse shit, right? How funny. They're trying to figure it out. I mean, they're trying to get their thoughts together so that you'll buy in 100% to the Kool-Aid they're selling. It is true, right? Corporate Kool-Aid is 100% accurate, right? It all fits in a perfect little box of we've got it all figured out. They don't want to let you on at any point to the reality that they ain't got shit figured out. It makes sense. Everything has a sphere of containment. Yeah, it does make sense, right? Why didn't they know that 20 years ago? Why didn't they know that back in the 1960s when they flew to the moon? It's amazing to consider, right? They used to think that the moon was in space, but now they claim that the moon is in the Earth's atmosphere. So nobody's ever been to space, right? And now, well, space, there is no interstellar space. Everything's changing, right? They got to rewrite the story. When they asked the astronaut, how did you get through the Van Allen radiation belts? He's like, well, back when we went to the moon, we didn't know about the Van Allen radiation belts. And he's like, so they didn't bother us. Isn't that funny? And it's like, why can't we go to the moon now? And technically no, Jeff. They've never been to space. The moon is, you can check it. I mean, I'll look up that article. You can look up that article just like I did. The moon is not in space. The moon is in the Earth's atmosphere. You can check that. That's factual. That's scientific now. They no longer claim that the moon is in space. It's in the Earth's atmosphere. There'll be new revelations forthcoming that the Earth isn't actually a planet, that it's just a great flat disk, but it's in a bubble too. The further you go, the less you know. I'm not a flat earther, guys. What would happen if we crossed the Van Allen belt? The radiation would kill you. Supposedly the radiation is so strong that it would cook you. It would kill you dead. And they didn't have any protection in the rockets that went to the moon. But supposedly they found a way around the Van Allen belt, like they went through the weakest part of it. But at the same time, they didn't know it was there. But they made that calculation, so they launched those Apollo rockets through the weakest part of it. From what I understand, nothing can get through the Van Allen belt. But I don't know that much about it. There's so much sci-fi fantasy horse shit involved in the whole thing that why would I even waste my time contemplating the idea? Have you ever watched near-death experience vids? They are fascinating. Yeah, my mom is really into those. And I've been through a few near-death experiences myself, but I haven't watched many of them recently. Do you have a particular channel you like to watch, Chris, that you'd like to get a shout out to? Yeah, you can't get to space because there is nothing called space. The whole idea of saying something is empty space or a vacuum is a misnomer. It doesn't make any logical sense. And people are waking up to that fact that there has to be a medium. There has to be an ether. So they're finally trying to bring Tesla's ideas, Nikola Tesla, his ideas of the etheric medium into the scientific realm. Whereas they denounced it for over 100 years. Tesla already figured all this shit out 100 years ago. Yeah, it's possible, Jeff. That is a possibility. I don't know. I'm not much into aliens myself. I'm not a big believer in aliens. I'd rather put my faith in my neighbor and mankind rather than speculate about reptilian guys jamming around in UFOs. But it may be an objective reality. I'm not saying it's not. Here you go. Okay. Chris has got a link for us to watch some near-death experiences. Yeah, I've had a few UFO encounters. The whole problem with UFOs, though, is they're unidentified flying objects. So I couldn't identify them necessarily as a spaceship or advanced tech or multi-dimensional type things. I mean, that's the whole problem with UFOs, is that they're unidentifiable. Once you identify it, it's no longer a UFO, right? Then it becomes an IFO, an identified flying object. I think Jeff's drunk. He's calling himself Jeff. Yeah, get out your telescope, Monsieur Tiedrick, and have a look at those watery planet spheres that are known as wandering stars. I've had a lot of experiences too. I hate putting it into a single identifiable box and saying this is what it is, irrevocably this is what happened, because there's so many possible options. So I personally like the multi-model approach. Yeah, I was checking out Good and Wilcock back in the past until they just went totally off the fucking deep end. Those guys went so far out into banana land territory that it just became unreasonable. And it's like, well, if they premised it by saying, hey, this is all sci-fi fantasy, live action role play, then it would be believable. But when they preface it as a reality that they've experienced, then they're just liars. They're absolutely liars. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, because I've had UFO encounters, I've had paranormal encounters. I'm more of a legitimate paranormal researcher than not looking back at documentation of the past, but getting out there and experiencing it myself, right? Yeah, that I can spot a fraud and a grifter when I see one. And Good and Wilcock are just frauds and grifters, just like Chris says here. All of Gaia is a totally fraudulent activity, and so I wouldn't want to be any part of that. Yeah, like those guys, they launched their whole thing based on like a sci-fi blogging website, like SCPs. You guys are familiar with the SCPs. So there's another one, I forget what it's called exactly, but it dealt mostly just with like sci-fi fantasy. And that's where those guys got all of their ideas. They stole it all from like a wiki, from a, like a, what are those called? Like a 4chan channel about UFOs. None of it was original. Yeah, too bad there's no space to have a secret space program about, right? I mean, space is everywhere. There's space between your ears. There's space in your room, space outside, but there's no secret space program. Solar Warden, yeah. Blue Avians. No, what is it? The Blue Chicken Cult, right? Is that what it's called? The Azure Avian Association. That's what it's called. All right, the Azure Avian Affiliation. Yeah, I'm a member of the Azure Avian Affiliation. I've actually got ranking in the Azure Avian Affiliation. I'm a 3-star colonel. I'm a 3-star colonel in the AAA, the AAA. Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. Well, he knew that he could sit down and take all of that info and write a book, but then he would get struck for plagiarism because it's all already out on the internet, right? And he said, well, if I just memorize this shit and then just riff on it, right? A live action role play, then I could make a ton more money just doing a YouTube channel, and selling people subscriptions to a secret society where they could learn about ascension, right? You can get on the tail of Hail Bob and ride around on the comet with me, and blue chickens will start to visit you as well, right? And blue balls of energy, and they'll show up in your room if you meditate in a certain way. Stephen Greer's on the same ticket. He's like, hey, let's all take LSD and go out to the desert and look at the lights in the sky. Yeah, it's sci-fi fiction, man. Are you shilling for him, Monsieur Tiedrick? Do you get a small commission if you sell one of his comic books? I'm just messing with you, Jeff. I know that you don't. I know that you're an avid interested person in these topics, and you want to know truth, right? And you're very interested in the future because it's where we'll spend all of our time, right? You, me, and the other guy, we're all going to spend all of our time in the future. Chris, I don't see that. I don't see the web. I don't see the web page. You said, let me get a link. And then you said, here you go. And then nothing. I didn't see the link. Yeah, the Dogon. Yes, they take a lot of, so he says they take a lot of info out there and weave it into their own narrative. Definitely. Any thoughts on Bob Lazar? Yeah, I've got a few thoughts on Bob Lazar. I think that, yeah, it's gone. I don't see it, man. I don't know if YouTube actually lets you post links in the chat. Okay, just look up Shaman Oaks on YouTube. Good. Yeah, let's talk about Bob Lazar for a moment. I think that Bob Lazar probably was a really involved in some sort of program. Don't know if it was like a secret space program or whatever, but he probably saw some shit, some UFO technology along those lines that he worked on and stuff. And maybe like the element that he talks about is a real thing too. I think there's probably a lot of credibility to Bob's story. I just don't know that if it's what he thinks it is. I don't know if it has anything to do with alien technology, if it's just not localized technology or hollow earth technology or alternate realm technology. Yeah, no links allowed in chat. I realize that now. So just look up Shaman Oaks on YouTube. Yeah, he says also look up a guy named Chris Bledsoe. His experience is real. I guarantee is real. Yeah, and I don't doubt it. I'll have to listen to a few of these guys that you're talking about because I recently had a near-death experience as well. And I don't doubt that these near-death experience guys is real. But the ultimate question you have to ask yourself at the end of the day is, what does it matter and how is it helpful? And how can we bring that knowledge of the spirit realm and make the bridge into this realm so that it's useful for people, like I'm trying to do with my writing, I think that's important going forward. Guys, I got to get busy though, man. This has already gone 2 hours. It's longer than I can stay on here. I appreciate y'all tuning in today for the Sunday transmission. I love y'all, good looking, sexy people. And okay. Yeah, I gotta run, guys. I gotta make breakfast and stuff for my kids, and we've actually got a lot of stuff to do. So I gotta get my work done. Yeah, you too, Chris. Good for stopping by, man. Jeff, you guys have a great day, and I will see you in the abodes of the future. Over and out, as above, so below. Good magic, everyone. Take care out in Happy Land.